How many times have you chased after something, a job, a status, even a relationship, only to discover that it wasn't quite what your soul was asking for? That feeling of living on autopilot, without knowing where to go, it steals your energy and leaves you without direction. It's expensive, isn't it? But what if I told you there's a way out of it? In this video, no more doubts. You will find a practical way to listen to your inner voice and discover what you really want. Prepare to gain clarity and start redesigning your life with purpose. Shall we go together? Yes, it's expensive. And I'm not just talking about money. We're talking about time, your most precious resource, spent on paths that don't take you where your heart wants to go. We're talking about that frustration that corrodes from within, a feeling that life is happening to you and not through you. It's living trying to fit the pieces of a puzzle that isn't yours, following a map drawn by others, by society, by family, sometimes even by past versions of ourselves that no longer exist. This lack of clarity makes us vulnerable to living for approval, to making decisions based on the fear of making mistakes or displeasing, and not on the genuine desire to grow and be happy. Now, imagine the opposite. Imagine waking up knowing why. Knowing what you really want works like a powerful internal compass. Your decisions become easier, more aligned. Your energy, previously dispersed, now has a clear focus. You develop a natural resilience, because even in the face of obstacles, you know what your north is, what really moves you. Motivation ceases to be an effort and becomes a consequence. This brings a sense of purpose that fills, that gives meaning to the days. It's about building an authentic life, where your actions reflect your deepest values. Wonderful, isn't it? But let's be honest, if it were that easy, we would all already be living our most authentic dreams. The truth is that discovering what we really want can be incredibly challenging. There is a lot of noise, a lot of pressure, many layers that prevent us from hearing our own voice. Why is it so difficult to look inside and find these answers? This difficulty we feel in knowing what we really want has deep roots, and the first major barrier we face is the constant bombardment of external expectations. From an early age, we are subtly and not so subtly conditioned. The family, often with the best intentions, projects its own dreams and fears onto us. The school directs us to certain acceptable paths. Society, then, presents us with a rather limited menu of what it means to be successful, a certain type of prestigious career, a specific standard of living, an idealized relationship model. The media and social networks amplify this pressure, painting a picture of happiness and fulfillment that, for many, is unattainable and, worst of all, deeply misaligned with who we really are inside. Result? We internalize these voices, these countless "you should," and we begin to believe that these implanted desires are our own. It's like trying to navigate life using a GPS calibrated for someone else's destination, ignoring the unique landscape that only we could explore and appreciate. Another giant that stands between us and our most authentic desires are our own internal fears. The fears. We have the paralyzing fear of failure, that constant whisper of, what if it doesn't work, which prevents us from even taking the first step. We live with the fear of judgment. What will others think if I choose this less conventional path, if I dare to be different? And, believe it or not, there's also the fear of success. Yes, the fear of really shining, of perhaps standing out too much from the group, of taking on greater responsibilities that seem daunting, or of simply not knowing how to deal with the new reality that success would bring. We cannot forget the fear of the unknown, which keeps us chained to a comfort zone that often has already become an uncomfortable prison, but is familiar. Frequently, the fear of disappointing those we love makes us shelve our most precious dreams, in a painful attempt to maintain external harmony, even if it costs our inner peace. Added to all this, many of us live a deep internal disconnection. In the frantic rush of everyday life, on autopilot between work, studies, responsibilities, and the avalanche of digital information, who really sets aside time to stop, breathe, and listen to themselves? This lack of time is often a convenient armor, an unconscious excuse not to face what is bubbling inside. The difficult questions, the unfulfilled desires, the voids that we prefer to fill with the constant noise of the external world. We have unlearned to listen to our intuition, that quiet voice, that visceral feeling that so often warns us, guides us, or nudges us. We excessively value the rational, the cold logic, and we forget that our internal wisdom also manifests powerfully through our emotions and bodily sensations. This disconnection makes us strangers to ourselves. Finally, it is incredibly easy to confuse superficial desires with deep needs and essential values. We are constantly seduced by stimuli that promise us instant happiness, the latest technological release, the trendy trip that everyone is taking, the perfect body on the magazine cover. And, of course, these momentary pleasures can be good, but they rarely fill the void of a greater purpose or a genuine connection. We end up trapped on the treadmill of the incessant search for more, without ever feeling truly satisfied or at peace. Distinguishing a passing want, often implanted from outside by advertising or social pressure, from a fundamental need of our soul, such as belonging, meaning, personal growth, autonomy, and aligning our choices with our most intrinsic values, those principles that are non-negotiable for us, is an enormous challenge. These barriers may seem like insurmountable mountains, I know. Looking at it all together, it can be scary. But the good news is that, with the right tools, and above all with the right intention, we can begin to dismantle them, brick by brick. How do we do this? How do we find our way back to our own voice? That's what we're going to find out now. The time has come to roll up our sleeves and dive into the how. The first fundamental step to discover what you really want is, paradoxically, to do nothing, or rather, to create space to listen to yourself. In the midst of the whirlwind of information and demands that we discussed, our inner voice is easily drowned out. Therefore, the first practical step is, create space and silence the external noise. This isn't about finding spare time, because it rarely appears. It's about making time, intentionally. Start small. How about scheduling 10, 15, or even 30 minutes in your day as an unmissable appointment with yourself? Turn off notifications. Find a quiet place where you won't be interrupted. A powerful tool here is the practice of mindfulness. It doesn't have to be anything esoteric or complicated. Sit comfortably, close your eyes if you want, and just observe your breathing. Feel the air entering and leaving your body. Your mind will wander to thoughts, worries, to-do lists. It's absolutely normal. Just bring the focus back to your breath, gently and without judgment, as many times as necessary. Another incredible ally is journaling, free and therapeutic writing. Grab a notebook and a pen. Yes, the physical act of writing can be very powerful. And simply write what comes to mind, without censorship, without worrying about grammar, logic, or whether anyone will read it. Use it as a safe space to vent your frustrations, explore confused ideas, celebrate small victories, or simply do a quote to relieve your mind. These practices begin to create a mental clarity, an internal silence necessary for your true voice, your deepest longings, to begin to emerge from the depths. With this space minimally created, even if it's just a little more internal silence, we move on to the second crucial step, asking yourself the right questions. The quality of our answers depends directly on the quality and depth of our questions. Here, brutal honesty with yourself is the secret ingredient. There are no right or wrong answers. Only your answers, those that resonate with your internal truth. Let's explore some categories of powerful questions to guide this investigation. First, reflect on your energy and genuine joy. Ask yourself sincerely, what truly energizes me and makes me excited, in contrast to what completely drains my energy and makes me exhausted just thinking about doing it? In what moments or situations do I feel most alive, most engaged, most authentically myself? What activities make me completely lose track of time, putting me in that delightful state of flow, where everything seems to flow effortlessly? Write down everything that comes, without filtering. Next, delve into your natural curiosity and dormant passions. Ask yourself, what am I naturally curious about? What kind of books, articles, documentaries, or podcasts do I consume for pure pleasure and interest, without any external obligation? What would I love to learn more about, even if it had no apparent practical use or couldn't turn into a career? What did I love to do when I was a child, before the world started telling me what was important, serious, or sensible. Often, our childhood passions and talents hold precious clues about our essence. Now, an absolutely crucial point: investigate your fundamental and non-negotiable values. What are the principles that really guide your life, or that you would like to guide it? Think of words like freedom, honesty, justice, creativity, security, adventure, compassion, knowledge, growth, social impact. A tip to identify them: what makes you deeply indignant or revolted? Usually it's a very important value of yours being violated. What do you admire most in other people, in your heroes or mentors? It probably reflects a value you cherish. Ask yourself, are my daily choices and my current lifestyle aligned with these values? Where is there a painful mismatch between what I say I value and what I really do? Finally, allow yourself to dream and visualize your ideal scenario without limitations. If you had a magic wand and money, time, health, and the opinion of others were absolutely no problem, what would you be doing with your life now? What would an absolutely perfect day look like for you, from the moment you wake up until bedtime? Describe it in as much detail as possible. What mark, what contribution, what legacy would you like to leave in the world, however small, when you are no longer here? Be specific, allow yourself to fantasize. These questions are like keys, opening doors to internal rooms that you may not even remember existed, or that you never had the courage to explore. Discovering what you want, however, is not a purely intellectual or meditative exercise. Often clarity arises and is consolidated in action. That's why the third step is experiment and test your ideas in practice. Think of yourself as a curious and gentle scientist of your own life. The answers, intuitions, and dreams that arose in the previous step are your hypotheses. Now it's time to test them in the real world, but lightly, with low risk and without pressure for immediate results. You don't have to quit your job tomorrow or make a radical change overnight. Start small, with baby steps. If writing attracts you, how about starting an anonymous blog, writing short stories, or joining an online or local writing group? If a social cause touches you deeply, why not volunteer for a few hours a week in an organization that works in that area? If a new career or field of study seems interesting, explore free or low-cost online mini-courses, watch documentaries and lectures on the topic, or, even better, try to talk to people who already work in that area, what we call informational interviews. Ask about the challenges, the rewards, the real day-to-day of the profession. Start a small side project on your weekends, related to an old passion or a new curiosity. The goal here is not to get it right the first time, nor to commit forever, but to collect valuable data. With each small experience, ask yourself, how did this make me feel? Energized, curious and engaged, or exhausted, bored and relieved to be over? What did I learn about myself and about that activity or environment? Remember, there is no failure in experimentation, only learning and collecting information. Each "no, it definitely wasn't what I imagined" brings you closer to, wow, that's it. How amazing. It's like tasting different flavors of ice cream until you find your favorite. You don't consider it a mistake to taste a flavor you didn't like. While you question yourself, write and experiment. There is an incredibly precise internal compass that we often underestimate or completely ignore. Therefore, the fourth and last practical step in this section is observe your emotions and your bodily responses. Our body and our emotions are extremely wise and honest messengers. They give us constant and real-time feedback on what is aligned with us and what is in dissonance. Start paying genuine attention to your intuition, to that gut feeling, which can be both fear and excitement. Learn to differentiate. To that feeling of deep peace that arises in certain situations, or to that subtle discomfort that you try to ignore. Note the physical responses. Does an idea, a conversation, or an activity bring you a feeling of lightness, expansion, openness in the chest, and a flow of energy in the body? Or, on the contrary, do you feel a weight on your shoulders, a knot in your throat, a contraction in your stomach, a feeling of dragging yourself? Your emotions are also crucial and speak volumes. Does an activity fill you with genuine joy, bubbling enthusiasm, and a satisfying calm? Or does it consistently awaken in you anxiety, resentment, irritation, deep boredom, or a heavy sense of obligation? Don't underestimate these signs. They are invaluable clues, like an internal GPS, indicating whether you are getting closer to or further away from your true self, your authentic desires. Make it a habit to do regular check-ins throughout the day. How am I really feeling about this? Underneath all the layers of expectations, fears, and shoulds. This journey of self-knowledge, using these tools, creating space, asking the right questions, actively experimenting, and listening to your emotions and body is incredibly powerful and transformative. But, as in any meaningful journey of growth, obstacles, internal resistances, and moments of doubt may arise along the way, even when we are armed with the best strategies. And it's about how to navigate these challenges that may appear during the process that we're going to talk about next. So you start using the tools we shared, asking the hard questions, experimenting with new things, and suddenly a light comes on. A clarity begins to emerge about what you really want, or at least about what you no longer want. What a great feeling, isn't it? But then, right at the moment when things seem to be clicking into place, it's very common for internal and external resistances to appear. Doubt can hit hard. Is this really what I want? Isn't it crazy for me to give up the certainty for the dubious? Old habits of thinking and behavior, those automatic patterns that you thought you had overcome, manage to resurface with force. Fears that were dormant may awaken again. The voice of your internal critic, that implacable judge who lives in your head, can become louder and more persuasive than ever. I want you to know, this is completely normal. It's part of the process of change and growth. Understand that self-knowledge is not a straight and ascending line towards enlightenment. It's much more like a spiral. You revisit old themes with a new perspective, deepen your understanding in layers. It's not a final destination where you arrive and that's it, you can put your feet up. It's more a way of walking through life, a continuous practice of self-observation and course correction. It's like taking care of a garden. It requires constant attention, care, and maintenance to flourish. So how to navigate through these moments of turbulence, doubt, or stagnation that may arise? Here are some important strategies. First, review and reconnect with your north. When confusion hits, go back to your journaling notes, reread your answers to the powerful questions we explored, remember what your fundamental values are. Keep your why, your intrinsic motivation, always alive and accessible. This works like a beacon in the fog. Second, seek quality support. You don't need to and shouldn't go through this journey entirely alone. Talk to a trusted friend who really listens to you without judgment. Find a mentor who inspires you and has already walked similar paths. Or seriously consider the support of a qualified professional, such as a therapist or a coach. Having an external, empathetic, and trained perspective can make all the difference in untying knots and gaining perspective. Third, celebrate every small victory along the way. We tend to focus on how much is still missing, but it is essential to recognize and celebrate every step taken, however small it may seem. Every insight you had, every small change of habit implemented, every no you managed to say to something that no longer serves you, every moment in which you honored your internal truth. This creates a virtuous cycle of motivation and reinforces your ability to change. Fourth, and perhaps the most important of all, practice radical self-compassion. Be kind, patient, and understanding with yourself, especially in difficult moments. There will be good days and days when you will feel lost again. Welcome your difficulties and your feelings without judgment. Treat yourself with the same kindness, affection, and encouragement that you would offer to a dear friend who is going through the same situation. Abandon the whip of self-criticism. And lastly, remember to transform your insights into small, actionable steps. Clarity without action can, over time, generate even more frustration. What small, tiny action can you take today or this week to honor what you have discovered about yourself and your desires? Consistency in small steps is what builds big changes. Even with these challenges and the need for constant maintenance, the journey of getting to know yourself more deeply and aligning your life with your most authentic desires is, without a doubt, one of the most rewarding adventures you can embark on. And what a rewarding journey it can be, this one of finding yourself. Throughout this video, we explored together the vital importance of knowing what you really want, not as a luxury, but as the basis for a life with more meaning. We unveiled the obstacles, internal and external, that often prevent us from seeing clearly. And, most importantly, we discovered practical and accessible tools to illuminate this path of self-knowledge. From creating space and silence, asking the right questions, experimenting actively, to learning to listen to the wisdom of your body and your emotions. Always remember, the most important answers, those that truly transform, are not out there in some guru or magic formula, but within you. This ability to connect with your most authentic longings, with your essence, is yours by right, and has always been there, perhaps a little forgotten, but waiting patiently to be rediscovered and nurtured. You have the power, the ability, and the responsibility to build a life that is a genuine reflection of who you are and what you value. So the question that remains now, and that I invite you to answer with your heart, is, what is the first small step, however simple it may be, that you will take today, or at most tomorrow, to honor this journey of discovery that we started here? Maybe it's grabbing that notebook we mentioned, and honestly answering that one question from Chapter 4 that moved you the most, that made you more curious or uncomfortable. Or who knows, setting aside those 10 or 15 sacred minutes in your schedule tomorrow just to be in silence with yourself, without a cell phone, without distractions. Share here in the comments what your biggest insight was when watching this video, or what small action you commit to taking from now on. Your journey and your reflections inspire our community and can help other people who are also on this search. And, of course, if you want to continue exploring these themes of self-knowledge, purpose, and personal development, and receive more content like this to support you in your growth, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the little bell so you don't miss any news. Life is incredibly precious, and, let's be honest, often too short to be lived on autopilot, following a script that was not written by you. Go ahead, with courage and kindness. Rediscover yourself. Allow yourself to flourish in the direction of your truest desires. The world needs your unique light.